Welcome to the Performance Formula with Jody Martins. Annerie, officially welcome to the podcast. It's really, really nice having you here.
Thank you, Coach. Thanks for having me. I know we go a long way back, so I've listened to a couple of your podcasts, so really an honor being on here, and hopefully we can have a nice little conversation.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know how many people will know you, right? Certainly, I think in the cricket world, people will know who you are. I definitely know over here in the United States, there's a couple of girls that are following, maybe more so because I told them about you. But we, as you say, we go quite a long way back. I think we met at SWD, and so I'm really curious for the podcast, right? Tell us a little bit about your journey, because I think my sense about you is you came from nowhere pretty quickly, comparatively to, if we think of a cricket journey that can take 10, 15 years for a young 6-year-old batter to develop into a cricketer. I know your path is a little bit different, right? Maybe shine a little bit of a light for us on that.
Yes, it's actually a bit of a long story, but I'm gonna try and keep it short. I think I grew up on a farm with my brother was sort of my only friend. So we played sort of all the sports you can imagine. And I think just found a little nice middle ground with the cricket. So I just sort of played with him in the backyard. Never really knew that women's cricket even existed, or never even crossed my mind that I maybe want to play this one day. And I think I was about 13 years old when a boy at school got sick and they needed someone for the team. I sort of said, listen, I can play cricket. Looking back on it now, this is probably a bit naive. But sort of from there, it just continued escalating. So I would say my first real exposure to cricket was probably at the age of 13. That's not anything outside of backyard cricket. And then I think I just played with the boys. Sort of every year, my mother said, it's getting a little dangerous now. Boys are getting quicker, stronger, faster. Think you should stop. But fortunately, I just had school coaches that kept asking my parents, listen, can she please keep on playing? To be honest, I don't really know what happened, but I think cricket sort of chose me, and ended up with it now, and very blessed and fortunate that it ended up this way, I guess.
If you say you don't know how it happened, cricket chose you, what do you mean by that?
Well, I think growing up in a small town like Beaufort West, I sort of played many sports, and sort of excelled, I guess, without sounding too braggy, in a lot of them. I think for most of my life, netball was probably my first love, and sort of the thing that I liked the most. And then I'm really not sure how it happened. Just went to university and sort of fell in love with cricket and just the process behind it. I think sort of almost, I guess, got a little more opportunities in cricket, which sort of excelled my growth in a bit more than netball. And netball stayed behind, and the cricket continued.
It's amazing, like in so many of these podcasts, when I talk with people, how they fall almost like into something more naturally rather than trying to force the issue with it. So it's pretty cool to hear that your story is pretty similar.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't realize.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had Shane Bond on the podcast. He was one of my first guests, and he explained it as well, that he sort of gave up cricket, and he was working as a policeman, and they asked him to come play some cricket, and he said, yeah, it's fine, I'll come play as long as I can bowl fast.
Okay.
And then like 2 years later he's playing for New Zealand.
Yo.
So he only made like his international debut, I think, at around 27 or 28, because he'd given up the game. He had a back injury when he was 17. So I always find it sort of quite interesting that a lot of your best cricketers, people that end up in cricket or people that end up in coaching, they sort of get there by chance more than like they had this clear vision of, oh, I want to be this thing, more play for the fun of it. And I love what you said there, like enjoyed the process of it. And so that kind of led to you being where you are now, playing for South Africa. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I guess so. I listened to a thing of AB the other day that said that he played sort of all sports and never really realized that he wanted to be a professional cricketer until late high school, because I think he had provincial colours in rugby and cricket. So yeah, I guess it sort of happens by chance, but yeah, I don't really believe in luck and too many things. So yeah, I think if we can like think back to your time at the Badgers, I always like to sort of put in the effort and follow the process. And yeah, I think much of my preparation probably comes, or confidence comes from preparation. So yeah, I felt like if I'm well prepared, then I find confidence in that. So it's probably where the process comes from.
Yeah, so that's definitely one of the things that stands out for me with you, right? I remember a day, I think it was like 40 degrees Celsius, that is. It's ridiculously warm, and all the nets, everything on the day got moved earlier, and you were busy coming back from your bowling rehab, because I think you had an injury. I can't remember what it was, if it was lower back or knee, maybe
I
something like
think
that.
I had a broken hand, yeah.
Yeah, and you were busy building up your overs again. And after our practice, you went and bowled on your own for most probably about another hour in that heat. And I was sitting there in the clubhouse just thinking, oh, I don't know about this. Like this is next level committedness. But so what is it in you that drives you? That
Sure.
has you bowling in degrees of heat that maybe people shouldn't be out there, or um, that just has you working harder than anybody that I've seen, in
Yeah,
a long time.
I don't know. I think I probably grew up in that like climate, you can call it that. So I'm probably a bit more used to the heat than the rest of the people. So yeah, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like. Yeah, I don't know. I don't like excuses. I don't like going to a coach and saying, "Listen, I couldn't do this because it was too hot." It just sounds extremely silly to me. And I think yeah. I don't know. Like I mentioned previously, my confidence comes from preparation, and I know that if I feel like I haven't done the work, you can always like try and spin stories to other people, but for yourself, you sort of know if you've done the work or if you haven't done the work. So yeah, for me, it's just all about preparation. I think I've always been a bit of a volume player, so I like to hit as many balls as possible, and I guess the more I bowl, sort of naturally stuff just start to happen. So I think it was less about the heat and sort of going out there and doing my job, but just more about like looking into the future and at the big picture, knowing that if I don't do this today, then maybe in 2 or 3 weeks' time things doesn't fall into place.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot to be said for that, right? Because I hear what you're saying around that you get your confidence from preparation. So this was the thought I had. It drifted out of my head for a moment. Was, how do you know when you've prepared enough? Because there's the flip side of that, right? Like you can do so much, so much, so much, and then you get to burnout. How do you? What's the balance for you in knowing, okay, I've done enough versus, okay, I'm actually a little bit undercooked.
Yeah, that's a very valid question. I think I don't know when this is going to air, but at the moment we are in the middle of the Ashes, and I think Brendan McCullum famously said they were over prepared for the Test match, probably, which I don't read too much
Yes.
into it. But no, it's
It's
definitely
caused a big stir.
no,
It's caused a big stir.
it's definitely I think a bit of a balancing act. Since I reached the Protea side, and I've got to spend a bit of time with the senior players like Marizon Cup, who's an all-rounder as well, and Chloe Tran, like they are so specific in what they do, and they know exactly what they need to get themselves going for the next match and to know when they've done enough. But I think like I previously said, like I just you just know, like there's just a feeling. Like I get a feeling when I'm batting, and I'm confident that I've and a lot of this is maybe a bad thing to say, but a lot of people have told me that listen, you can't bat until you get a feeling, or you can't be training for a feeling, or you can't try to find a feeling. Like you have to find a way, and I fully agree with that in games. Like in a game, you can't go, oh, I'm not feeling this today, and I need to sort of figure it out. But yeah, in trainings, I just feel like you're there, you hit balls, find ways to figure it out. So that if that happens in a game, you can sort it out quickly because you don't want to get into a game and be like, oh, I'm not feeling it today. What am I going to do? So for me, I
Mm.
think like Steve Smith I'm a bit of a cricket nuffy, so this is why I'm like throwing all the cricket stuff. But I think Steve
That's
Smith
all good.
said, for him it's a no, it's for him it's also a feeling, but it's like the feeling of the bat in his hand. So until he's hit a certain amount of balls, like he doesn't feel that feeling of the bat in his hand. And I mean, it's the same bat handle when you hit ball one until you hit ball 500. Yeah, but for me, it's just sort of, I think a big key for me is weight transfer and contact points. And as soon as I sort of don't have to start thinking about it and it just happens naturally, then I know I'm in a good space. And then I try not to overtrain and overcomplicate things, because there's a famous saying that you can bat yourself into form quickly and you can bat yourself out of it very quick. So yeah, for me, it's about finding that sweet spot and trying to stay in it.
Yeah, I like to say, leave some for the field, like you're scoring all your runs in the nets. Leave some there that you can go get them out there.
Yeah.
No, you raise a very interesting point, because I'm also aware of Steve Smith looking for his hands, right? That's the thing they always talk about. There's this feel in his hands that he's looking for. And so it's something I'm very aware of as a coach, that we all so different as people. And so I would not discourage you from seeking the feeling necessarily. I think, and I don't know which coaches have said this to you, but my sense is that coaches who tend to make those comments are maybe a little bit uninformed more often than not as to how we as humans work, right? We work differently. Some people need to feel, some people need to see themselves doing something, some people need to have a very structured process and routine in order to be at their best. And so I like to think that if somebody understands about themselves that they need a feeling, then our job should rather be to help them try and find that feeling, try and figure out what that feeling is more, so that you build your process or your way around the feeling. And I think feeling for many people it's something that it's so vague, right? And how do you put words to that? It's not something that's concrete, where a system or a structure is like step one, step two, you put this brick there, you put that brick there. And so I think we lean towards that very easily. It's like, you do step 1, 2, 3 and you will succeed, where for many that doesn't work. I've taught enough people processes like that in my life, and I call them normally starter processes. Like, this is where we start, right? I know it's not going to be your answer, but to me they like starter building blocks to say, okay, to get the concept, do 1, 2, 3. But within that, to me, some players are like, they explore and they find. I'll give you an example, right? I always used to think that a process is like that. Step 1, 2, 3. You'll read Ricky Ponting's, right? It'll be step 1, I do this. I tap like this. He cleans the field. He walks onto the field in a specific way, carrying a specific energy. Like, it's very structured. Like, in his book, he wrote a whole page of his process and he calls it a summary. I'm like, well, so there's more to it. If this is only a summary and it's 1 page long and it starts like 3 days from the game all the way to facing every ball, there's like little steps for every little thing that he does. And I had this wonderful opportunity for 10 minutes, right? It was the weirdest thing that happened to me. And it blew my mind at the time. I was working at the Wanderers in Johannesburg. And at that time, Chris Gayle was playing for the Lions franchise in the local Ram Slam T20 or whatever. And I had 10 minutes to just go pick it. Like, he was standing there clipping his nails in front of the famous tunnel that runs down onto the field. Right in front of that, there's Chris Gayle parking off, clipping his nails. I had nothing better to do with my time. I think our training was done. I was sort of just drifting around. Here's Chris Gayle. And I said to him, hey, can I ask you a couple of questions? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so I asked him, like, what is your process when you bat? Like, what is the routine that you go through? And he explained something to me that is completely different to any other batter I've ever heard or ever worked with. And that is that he said he plays with body language. In a nutshell, right? If I summarize it, he plays with body language and energy on the field. And I was like, what do you mean by that? He's like, no, all he does is the night before, he lies in his bed and he visualizes. He sees himself dominating. And then he also works through how the bowler might try and get him out and what he do, like how he navigates that. And then on the day, all he does is read body language. So he feels like the energy of the ball coming at him. And like, is this bowler bringing the heat? And that more affects how he decides he's going to play. It's got nothing to do with tap my bat 3 times, look up, say, watch the ball. It's more this interplay of sort of, okay, this bowler is attacking me. He's bringing good energy, good heat. Am I absorbing that now, or am I taking it on? Like, that's sort of what I got from that conversation. And I thought that's fascinating, right? And I don't think any coaches out there will coach that. And I don't mean that in a bad way,
No,
because it's so difficult to coach. It's
yeah.
so difficult to coach, it's.
But I think in a sense that's maybe also his process. Yeah, I've sort of read Paddy Upton. I'm not sure if you know him, but
Yeah.
he did a podcast with Shane Warne, I think, or it was Shane Warne's podcast in lockdown. And
Yeah.
had a lot of famous cricketers on that, and I think Faf said that he sort of he flourished against the more well-known sides like Australia and England, but whenever they got to play like Bangladesh or Pakistan, he would struggle to get himself up for that game and really get a fight. So you would sort of try and pick a battle with someone in the side or in the opposite team to get himself going. And yeah, I think Shane Watson said, like, if he knew about the mind, what he did in the latter part of his career, he probably would have been the best cricketer in the world if he'd known that when he was 20. And yeah, I think it's a fascinating thing to me, cricket and the mind and sort of form and out of form. And yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with the mental side of things, which I think you are a little bit of an expert in.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. No, so I think it's pretty cool if you understand about yourself that there's a feeling that you're looking for, right? I would just encourage you to keep finding that feeling, to keep building, to keep figuring out how you get that, to build the process towards that. Some people are feelers, some people are sensors, some people are thinkers, right? They have to think themselves and sort of organize their things in their mind, and others are more physical. They do it more, and so I'd like to think that at some point in time coaching can evolve, that we can consider all these different potential things that can operate within a team, right? I'm sure right? Like, my sense of Annerie is she is this bubbly life of the party in the team, right? Like, up for anything, let's go. But you also have the quiet person. You also have the quiet person sitting in the corner there that's just going about their business, And like, I don't think we should expect everybody to be like you, and we shouldn't expect it. We shouldn't look badly upon somebody that's maybe not like that. That's sort of my sense about it.
Yeah, I think I'm always up for it, and yeah, I guess it stems from a place that I want everyone to feel welcome and included. So I think that's maybe why I come across a bit bubbly, and yeah, just want everyone to sort of get in it. And I feel like if your energy is a bit higher, then everyone's energy sort of lifts. I feel like maybe as a senior player at SWD where our paths cross, maybe like, or a senior player, if you can put it like that. Like, people sort of look to you, and if you like moping and down in the dumps, then everyone's energy sort of drops. So yeah, I think I made it like a point to try and not even if I was feeling down in the dumps, to sort of not drag the team down with me. And I think I've seen it happen quite a bit over my career, where like one person or action of one person can sort of bring down the whole mood in a team. And yeah, I just made a point to never ever want to be that person. So maybe that's why I come across a bit bubbly and energized. But I think it's also my natural sort of inclination. But when it's time to work, it's time to work. And yeah, sort of got to put that aside as well for a little bit.
Yeah. I'm curious with you, like, if you think of, say, in the last 12 months, like, what has been some of the biggest lessons you've learned around your own game?
Sure. I think we spoke briefly before this podcast, off air. And I think you would recall when you were still working with us over here, I think we did a bit of work on the mental side. Yeah, and I just couldn't seem to score 150 over cricket. I would score some in T20 cricket, but when I got to 50 over cricket, the exact same team, exact same surface. I just couldn't score a run. And yeah, I think we did a lot of work of like trying to find a process and trying to find ways like when am I playing best. And I think what came out of that was, I think I mentioned something to you one day about having fun, and it's still stuck with me until today. So for me, it's really important to sort of go onto the field with a mindset of trying to have fun, and then secondly, like really trying to win the game, I guess. I'm also not like Faf, but in a sense, it's also a bit difficult for me to sort of get up or to the fights or like really get into a game when I feel like, I don't know, it's a bit of a lower level game. So like club cricket or something like that. But yeah, I had a very insightful chat with one of my coaches over here that said, listen, big guys like AB would used to go to Easterns and they would whack 150 of like 60 balls in a 4-day series, but they would like tell the bowler when the bowler brings up long on, like, no, put them back. But they were so disciplined that they still executed whatever they wanted to in that moment. And I think I probably learned a bit of that, to be disciplined, even when you feel like you don't really want to play this game or you'd like to play at a high level. And I also think that I learned sort of the tempo I want to go at, in 50 over cricket. I think I was sort of looking, and it's not like finished and laid out and everything yet, but I feel like I've got a bit of a clearer idea about how I want to go about things. I think what my options are is very important, sort of, and helping me find that process. And then yeah, I think we again fell a little bit short in the final. So I think through that I probably learned a lot about preparation. I think I was not in the side for the first couple of games, and then got back in the side, and then was a little bit short of runs in the World Cup. And for some reason, I got out playing silly shots or doing silly things and like getting to 5 of like 20 balls where I would usually strike at a runner ball, blocking our volleys because the team was in a bit of a sort of, I don't know, difficult stage. And I know that it's important to absorb pressure sometimes, but yeah, blocking our volleys is not really the way I play cricket. So I think through that, and maybe more towards the end of the tournament, I sort of learned to really back your strengths and your skills, no matter like what the situation may be. And I know there's that cliche that says always play the what's a track or what conditions rather than the situation. So yeah, I probably fell into the trap with that a little bit. But yeah, I think good learnings from it, and hopefully we've grown a lot.
Yeah. It's interesting that you use words like fun and disciplined at the same time.
But it can be
Because
like,
so that's what I want to understand from you, because some people might go, oh, if I have to be very disciplined, that sucks the fun out of the room. And
yeah.
when there's a lot of fun, yeah, so I'm curious how you balance those two.
So I think it's funny that in the Proteas environment, I'm also regarded as like fun and bubbly and quite outgoing. And I think for a while they sort of tried to get me to be like the rest of the people or the rest of the senior people that are like, and it just didn't work for me. Like, it's not my personality. It's not who I am. I play best when I'm having fun, but I still also have the discipline to know that, listen, I can make a joke here, but next ball I've got to run in and I've got to hit my area, or next ball I've got to go face, and I can't be joking around in front of the wickets when I'm having to prepare. So yeah, all good fun, but you sort of have to find a way to make sure that while you're having fun, you're still disciplined and you're still doing what you need to do. And I think maybe another thing I've learned from it this year, is that someone actually had a conversation with me and said, oh, it's all good and well that you can sort of distinguish between having fun and making a joke and then going back to work. But the person you're making the joke with, maybe doesn't have that ability as great. So who you joke with is also really important. You got to make sure that, like, sort of the things you do isn't taking away from other people's ability to do their job and prepare as well as they should.
I love that because it speaks a lot to self-awareness about understanding ourselves and understanding how we go about our business versus understanding and considering, right? So EQ is the emotional quotient, so our ability to relate to others. And so I think that's a really cool learning for you, is that, yeah, it's great to have fun, but what's my effect on other people? I'm in a team. How does that play off to my teammates, and who should I be doing that with maybe, and who shouldn't I? Because if I do something and it doesn't help the team, then that's not great either. And knowing you, that's not what you want.
Yeah,
You wouldn't want to be doing that and then the team loses and everybody goes, oh, Annerie did this because she's busy messing around. Yeah, she made a joke,
Yes, no.
Yeah, I'd like to think that if you get serious, you get stupid. So it's always good for me to allow people to have sort of bring their personalities out. I think that's pretty cool that you've learned these things and you've been able to apply them, and hopefully you've seen that the lessons are paying off. Like you said, you got a couple of hundreds this year and 50 over cricket. The second thought I had just on what you said that I thought I want to maybe if I could sort of imprint it on you a little bit. I know this isn't a coaching conversation in that way, but as you're speaking, I can't help myself. Like when I used to, my cricket academy I used to have in South Africa, in Johannesburg, we had a slogan, and I think the slogan came from me. And I think to this day, to me, it is such an important thing, because I've seen so many times that if people can do this, inevitably performance follows. And it's a very simple concept, right? It's based around the idea that you must play your game. And so I think everybody's game is different. And you speak about your strengths, like knowing those, what are my options? You speak about your character and your personality, like how you are. So all of those things to me are linked to that. And so if we have this ability to go play our game to our best, I think that's when the real magic happens. If we're free enough to be authentic in an environment and be ourselves, and I know some team environments sort of can squash that, they don't allow people to be themselves. You have to be in a certain way to belong here. Versus, no, you can be you, and you have the freedom for that. Well, now I can do my thing, so I can play my game. And if I can then go play my technical game or my skills game or my tactical game, and I have the freedom to do that, and I understand, more importantly, how to do that, then I think inevitably performances lift, where if we put limitations on those things and tell people how they have to be and how they should be, then yeah, I don't see performance really happen,
100% agree with you, Coach. I think I've played in teams that were probably regarded as underdogs, but yeah, we had a great team culture and everyone was allowed to be themselves, and everyone sort of put a bit of their strengths into the team environment and the team culture. And yeah, I think we, like you said, inevitably performance followed. So yeah, I think I'm very fortunate to be a part of teams now that allow everyone to be themselves. And yeah, I think that's just more fun for everyone. Like I said, just being emotionally aware of people around you, not just focusing on yourself.
Yeah. What do you do when you fail? Like when things don't go your way? And we know that in cricket, 70% of the time as a batter, you are not going to succeed. Have you got any gems to share around how you navigate that? If they are gems.
Very, very good question. Well, usually I'll just go and prepare again. But I think our batting coach at the Proteas, Bakir Abrams, I always say his name Abrams, he had this very good philosophy he once told me, and he's like, if you bat and you fail, there's 3 ways that you should assess it in. First one is like, was the ball there? Was it there to hit? If yes, then sure. Was the option right? Like, did the track allow for it? Did like the option you took to that ball, was it right? If it's right, then it's good. And then lastly, if it's just a matter of not executing, like we can live in that space. We're gonna make mistakes. So always like try to evaluate it based on that. And yeah, I guess that sort of gave me a bit of a better template. Like if I mistakenly hit the ball down long and straight, but I know that 99 times out of 100, I'm smoking that ball for 6. I'm not going to go sit and, I guess, twiddle my thumbs over why did I do this. So I think that sort of, I guess, narrowed it a bit down, like better for me. If it's just an execution problem, if it's like a mental error, then just work on that. And then if your option was wrong, then just assess that and reassess that. So I think in the past, I would really go and overtrain and try and hit a 500 balls over long on. Whereas now I just try and be a little bit more specific of maybe what went wrong in that instance.
To fix the right thing, not just take the sledgehammer to it. As South Africans, I know, and I don't know, it might be true in other parts of the world. I haven't dealt necessarily with lots and lots of cricketers from other parts of the world, but I definitely know South African, and in particular Afrikaans South African, which both of us are. We have this tendency that if something goes wrong, we will just go work. We will just say, right, head down, now we just got to go hit more balls, or bowl more. And so it's kind of cool to hear that you found a little bit of a solution around that, to be, as you say, more specific towards, okay, hang on, what is it that was the actual problem? Let's fix that. Let's just throw the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah.
And I love that you raised there sort of, because this is something that was taught to me by Neil Mackenzie. Actually, he always used to say, like, what type of error did you make? Was it a mental error or a technical error? And so I think I love that you brought that in there, that, you know, well, it could just be my thinking, you know, maybe I chose the wrong thing. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Just a little bit of a lap.
I didn't understand the conditions.
Yeah. Just so I think, yeah, as long as I sort of feel prepared and I've got that feeling that we spoke about, and like sometimes you can really feel like you're batting well, but you're just getting out. And I think that has happened to me a little bit in the past. And then, yeah, I sort of try and reinvent the wheel, where it's just like a simple thing of, I don't know, concentrating better or choosing a better option. So, yeah, it's not about trying to reinvent the wheel whenever we fail, because like you mentioned previously, we might fail like 70% of the time.
Yeah. I want to throw a thought at you and see what you think of it, because you mentioned these words earlier, you know, being in form. And I'll start my thought with a story. This is the moment that I started thinking about this differently. Was Herschel Gibbs was scoring not a lot of runs. He got a duck, a 1, a 9, a 5, like that. And then all of a sudden he gets a 90, right? He goes out there, he got a 90, got man of the match for South Africa. And the post-match interviewer asked him, "Oh, what a lovely return to form. How is that for you?" And Herschel's answer is what threw me, right? Because at that point in time in my life, I always thought, okay, there's form. You're either in form or you're out of form. And Herschel was like, "Nah, I don't feel like I've been out of form. I've been hitting the ball well. I've been preparing like I did for this game. I've done nothing really wrong. You know, maybe it's just like it just hasn't gone my way, sort of, you know." And that got me thinking, like, hang on, what's happening here? That we always talk about things being in form and out of form. Here's a guy that explains, like, I haven't been out of form in my mind. Like, it's, you know, and then I read a book called The Inner Game of Golf. But I read The Inner Game of Tennis first. I read that book, and in that book, he said, no, it was the golf one. Sorry, I'm drifting. In the golf one, he says there are no, because in golf, they use a similar language. They talk about streaks. You have a hot streak. And so he was explaining in the book how streaks don't exist. Like, is it, when are you in form and when are you out of form?
Yeah, I think that
is it just the scoreboard?
That's a great question. I think I've heard someone say recently that there's a difference between being in form and in runs, or out of form and out of runs. And I think we often mistake one for the other. So if we're scoring runs, we automatically assume that you are in form and stuff like that. And I think that's probably the lingo that goes with it. But the funny thing to me is sort of when you are in form, I don't know, a slip sort of drops a dolly, and you go on to score another 100 on top of the 200s that you recently score. And when you're out of form, like someone just seemed to take a screamer, and you just can't buy a run. So I think that's sort of the thing that's almost more interesting to me than being in runs and out of runs. I don't know if it's just a mental
It
thing,
is.
like feeling like, oh, I scored 300, someone took a screamer, it's all right. Or going to, oh, I got 3 ducks, now someone took a screamer, I'm routinely out of form. That's always something that has interested me.
Yeah. But I think if you play in that space, I think then you leave a lot up to chance.
100%.
Then I don't think I don't feel like you're in control of anything. It's like, oh, well, it's almost like thinking that the world is against me. Like everybody's against me. Oh, I see there. They see there. That guy dove to 5 meters, fingertips, like there. Yeah, see, it's just not. And so I wonder sometimes how much, and I don't know, there's people out there that would say all of that is of your own making, because it's the energy that you put out, right? It's the vibes that you're sending, and so the universe repays you in that way. There's people that think about it like that, or there's people, like I think you said it so plainly there, like, yeah, maybe sometimes take a screamer against you, but because of the way that you feel, you just sort of brush it off, where now you're not performing really well, so you feel a little bit differently, and so because of that catch comes, and now it's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think for me personally, I lean more towards that way. It's sort of just the space that you're in. So form, or feeling in form, could potentially then have nothing to do with actually how you're hitting the ball. It will most probably play a part, but it might not. It could also just be, I woke up right. Hey, I feel
How
good.
many runs I score, yeah. No, it's weird
Yeah.
that you say that, because like I recently had a batting session on like AstroTurf, so synthetic wicket with bowling balls, so it's not swinging. And I couldn't hit a cover drive. Like I was in there for almost an hour and a half, and I couldn't time a cover drive. It was the funniest thing to me, and I couldn't understand what was happening. And the coach also looked at me like I was a palooka that suddenly forgot which end of the bat to hold. And yeah, we probably tried to reinvent the wheel, did a whole lot of different drills, and I didn't know what was going on. But yeah, didn't think too much of it. Next day, went back, exact same surface, exact same thrower, exact same ball, and like just felt like everything sort of clicked and was back in there. Yeah, felt like I was hitting it as well as ever. So I think there are days that you probably go through that, but I think it's about finding that thing that we previously mentioned, like finding a way quicker, and like every time sort of go through that period or that session to just find a way to get things to click a little bit quicker. And I think that's sort of what I've been trying to work on lately, is that when I'm not feeling well, when I'm not hitting the ball well, how do I get that feeling as soon as possible?
Yeah. And I think for people, say, like you, or that are similar, that feel like they need that feeling, I work with a lot of cricketers that will tell me, like I would ask them, how do you get your confidence? Okay, no, I just need to walk out there, and like when I hit that first 4, like then I'm like, okay, but that, like, you don't know if that's going to happen. So you never go into a game confident, right? Never, ever, ever. And so I think that's something people can learn from you, yeah, is you gain a lot of your confidence from your preparation. In other words, the work I do before the time. But now what if that doesn't work? Which is what you
Well,
just explained, right? Like, no, what if this is like the week leading up to a test match for South Africa, and I'm not nailing my cover drive, which is like normally my bread and butter? Then what? Are we still able to say, okay, well, if that's not a scoring option, these other ones still are? Or do we expend so much mental energy on one thing that tomorrow could actually just be better? I think of skill development a lot, and it fascinates me how cricketers can hit millions and millions and millions of balls and still feel like they can't hit the cover drive.
I think I just mentioned the cover drive. That's probably the most basic shot we went to, but I couldn't hit any cricket shot.
Yeah,
Like I don't know what happened that day. But in saying that, like I've also had nets like that where I thought, oh my word, I cannot hit a ball, I cannot do anything, and I walk onto the field the next day and I just find a way to score 100. Or there's been days where I felt like, "Oof, I've never hit the ball like this," and I walk onto the field and I get single digits. So I don't
yeah,
know if that's got something to do with like maybe concentration, because you're feeling, oh, I'm a little bit out of form here, so I got to make sure that all my stuff is really working perfectly well. Whereas the flip side of that is probably like, oh, I'm feeling great, like don't have to look after my positions as well. I can sort of try and go after it from ball one, and then you sort of nick off to something silly. So yeah, there's probably a little bit into that as well, but yeah, just trying to find a way, be effective, however you're feeling, I guess. That's also
yeah,
being effective, not perfect.
yeah. I don't think, like, if we had to take Sashin, right? I would love to ask him this question. How many times in his life, and he's seen as most probably one of the best ever, right? Textbook technique, dominated world cricket, could play all formats. How many times in his life did he actually bat where he felt like $1 million? Like he just, I would imagine that number is very low. I
Yeah,
would number, but I, and I think the best understand that I'm not going to feel perfect. That doesn't mean I can't score runs,
yeah,
you know?
yeah. I think that's
And
that's also
yeah.
something that coaches have really been trying to, because I think if you can remember, like I'm very much, especially in trainings, I want everything to be perfect. Like if I'm eating a
Mm,
cover drive, I want my weight transfer to go. I want my hands to go through the ball. I don't want to be slicing it. I want to eat it exactly where it needs to go. And yeah, I think
mm,
someone sort of sat me down, had a coffee with me, and they were like, listen, we got to find ways to be effective without being perfect.
mm,
So even on that day where you're feeling like, oh, I'm standing up on the ball, I can't, like, figure out what your options are for that and find a way to score runs, even though you're not perfect, even though you're not doing things in the textbook style or like textbook style.
mm.
So I think that's maybe also been a good growth for me this year or recently. Yeah, sort of trying to find a way to score runs even when you're not feeling it.
Yeah. Like I always equate it to like riding a bicycle, tying your shoelaces, riding your car, driving my car. I don't get into my car every single time and go, oh yeah, I got to remember to put so much, like put my foot this hard on the pedal and remember to turn the steering wheel with this much pressure, or like you just get in and you drive, right? But every time I drive is different because now today the road's wet. Like for the first time in my life yesterday I had to drive in snow. Like I was like a little bit apprehensive. I've never done that. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that experience. For the snow, yeah, they throw like a lot of salt on the roads because it melts the snow. So it sort of speeds up the cleaning
Yeah,
process so that people can use the roads. That changes the color of the road. Now I'm not, but there's black ice. You can slip and slide all over the place. Like there's all these new things I'm learning here, right? The road looks completely different. Normally the roads are black. Now they're white, but there's black on them. So is this now the things that's going to make me slip around? I don't know. And so I just approach it a little bit differently, but I'm not necessarily thinking of the steering wheel differently or my foot on the gas differently. That still happens, but my whole approach to driving is completely different. And I think that's more like my perception is cricketers must learn that. If you've got a cover drive, you've got a cover drive. Like you should even, the thinking should be, I can do this. And then if I can do this, okay, great. Now it's just understanding how do I use it differently. So
that
if I'm on an Astro wicket, if I'm on that slow wicket in India, if I'm on that fast bouncy one in Australia, okay, how do I drive essentially differently in all these different places?
that is a very good analogy. I think that's probably the best one I've heard so far. Yeah,
Just came up with it right now.
that's that's insane. That's a very good one. I think I might use it. Yeah, I think we as cricketers like tend to overcomplicate things a lot. It's actually such a simple game. I've told some of my friends this. I'm like, oh, you're so good with like, and when I see the way I speak to them, and about the confidence they should have in their ability. My self-talk isn't always like that to myself. And I think like we all sort of fall short in a little bit of confidence. And I think it's also like a bit of the South African way, like you don't want to seem arrogant or something. So you sort of talk a little bit down to yourself, like, just got those runs because it was a road. Like we never tend to take cricket or like credit for it and say like, yeah, listen, I had to graft really hard, had to train really hard, and that's why it paid off today. So I think we sort of tend to try and play it down a bit, and yeah, might be a downfall sometimes, but yeah, just about managing that well as well.
I love that, right? I think we just got to be learned to be real, like, and just say it how it is. It's like there's a fine balance between being boastful, like, yeah, look at me, I'm so great, I got 100, and being that super humble, like, oh no, like, and try and shy away from things versus just being real, like, yeah, I had to like freaking work really hard for that, because I think if we can be more real, we'll also learn more what it actually takes.
Yeah.
And those around us can also then understand, oh shucks, this is what it actually takes.
No, 100%.
Versus, we do something extraordinary. I got into this habit of asking cricketers when I was working at Gauteng Cricket as the mental performance coach. Whenever they scored runs, I would pull them aside and say, right, tell me about how you did that. Like, work me through it. You just got a double 100. Work me through that.
Yeah. How often did they say, I don't know how it happened. It just happened.
No, every single time. Like, I said, okay, great, it happened, but how did it happen? And so, like, I remember a conversation with Dominic Hendricks, and what I always loved about that conversation, what I got from it was, and there was a lot of things, I wrote about 2 pages in my notebook for him, and then took a screenshot and sent it to him. I said, well, that's how you got that double 100. But one of the things that stood out for me was how late he switched on in the game. He'd batted something like 30 or 40 balls already, and then he got an edge that dropped.
Oh.
He got dropped in slip. Yeah. He got dropped in slip. So I should have been out, right? Then he only switched on to say, oh shucks, you better. and the lesson in that was, at that time for him, was, if I recall, was he played in a similar way. He played the energy of the ball. So the bowlers that were bowling to him at the first part of his innings, the bowler's intensity was low. He said, like, they were bowling these floaty balls at me. They were not sort of coming at me. And so I wasn't really switched on. I didn't feel like, shucks, I need to switch on here and like really be ready for this thing that's going to come my way. And so only when he nicked it and got dropped, he was like, oh shucks, you better switch on. And then he gets a double 100, right? And so I think that remains the challenge, is how do we then get to switch on when we don't have this thing in the external environment that's our switch on? How do we do that for ourselves,
Yeah, 100%. I think that's quite, I think, like previously alluded to it, with Faf, sort of trying to have to pick himself up. So yeah, that is quite a big challenge, and I guess something I'm still trying to navigate and I guess find a way for myself into it. I think I'm pretty fortunate that in my international career, I'm still pretty new, so it hasn't felt that way international level. Maybe a little bit of club cricket here and there, I've been like, oh, this bowler, and then I try and whack them out the park and get out like that. So yeah, but like I previously said, just being disciplined and doing what you need to do and getting what you need to get out of that session.
Yeah. Annerie, this has been brilliant. I've loved chatting with you. Thanks for making time.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's felt like the good old days.
Yes, the good old days. We can definitely have more of them. Don't be a stranger. Anytime. Anytime, if you feel like you need to bounce some ideas or need a different perspective, you can always pop me a little message and let me know.
Thank you very much, Coach. Appreciate it.
Yeah, brilliant.
Thanks.